honestly, that experience just kind of shook up my whole world. It just even made me question, I went through a short phase of, do I even want to go in this direction?
This video is for all the moms who think that you have to wait until your kids are out of school before you can take a sabbatical. Christina and her 3 kids spent a year traveling around the United States in an RV and out and about in Europe, not in an RV. So please stick around and find out exactly how you can take a career break with your family. Welcome to 12 Days of Career Breaks. I'm Stephanie Perry of Vicarious.com.
And I'm ROSHIDA DOWE of She'sOnTheLoose.com. We're interviewing 12 Black women who took time off work to travel. We're talking making big changes and redefining their priorities in meaningful ways. And make sure to hit subscribe and turn on notifications so you'll be notified when we post the next video. Also, stick around until the end of the video where Stephanie and I will be sharing a couple of resources to take you out of the dreaming phase and into planning.
Welcome, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here. So many moms that ROSHIDA and I talk to are always like, oh, I need that, but I need to wait 18 years until my kids are grown, And so we're going to get into today how and why and what you were able to do. But first, we're sponsored by House Party the Game. So we're going to kick things off with a little icebreaker. House Party the Game is a trivia game owned by a Black woman that deals with trivia in the 90s. We had a little 80s yesterday or the other day.
Yeah.
And there's a new 2000s edition out too.
House Party the Game. Are you ready? Are you ready? Ready? Okay. So I'm going to take out 2 cards, just randomly 2 cards, and we'll see, how do you think you are with your 90s trivia?
Whew, I'm a bit nervous.
Okay. Oh, okay. Where are you from originally?
From the South. I'm from Tennessee.
Okay, all right. Let's see. Dru Hill was composed of members Cisco, Jazz, Nokio, and...
I only know Cisco. I know the group and I can say some songs, but I don't know the last member.
I would not have gotten this either, to be honest. But when I see the name, I'm like, well, obviously. But before that, no. Stephanie, do you have it?
No, and I'm from Delaware, which is very close to Baltimore. I have no idea.
Woody.
Oh, that's right.
Right. Once you hear Woody, it's like, well, sure. Okay. So for these questions, I'm like, I would lose at this game every time, but let's go. You can do this, Christina. Which music video took place on a basketball court and prominently featured a platinum-coated military tank and a basketball dunking mascot? I will give you points just for the artist, even if you can't name the video.
A tank, a basketball court.
A platinum-coated tank. Which music video took place on a basketball court and prominently featured a platinum-coated military tank and a basketball dunking mascot?
Okay, I don't know.
Was this person a basketball player / rapper?
It's not Shaq, if that's what you're thinking of.
Or Kobe?
No. Did Kobe rap?
Well, he I think so. Yeah, because he was on the Destiny's Child song, I think.
Oh.
Okay, so if this was one of Master P's people.
What song was it?
This is why it sounds familiar.
Okay, I will give you that it was Master P.
It was Master P.
Yes.
Christina, you got to take this for the South. The dirty South.
The thing is, I feel like I'm playing the video in my head. Like, I can see it.
Once I say it, you'll be like, yeah, it's another one like that.
No Limit Soldier.
Jeez, I don't know where I was in the 90s.
That's what I'm thinking.
I don't know any of these.
I give up.
Yeah, I think I do too.
Make them say, nah, 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 nah. Yeah. Like, right? Like, what you hear, it's like, oh. But I read this and I was like, there's no way. Okay.
All right. So House Party the Game, the link is in the description. Let us know when you become House Party the Game champion. All right. So let's get into it. Christina, you're a mom of 3 and you took an actual sabbatical in 2016. Tell us how this idea first came to you.
Okay. Well, it was 2017 when I did the actual sabbatical. And it was actually offered by my job. I was a professor at the university at the time, and they wanted me to pursue my PhD, which I did. So I was a PhD student, and I was in the writing phase, and I needed time to write. And so my job actually offered me 18 months, sabbatical, paid sabbatical at that, to finish writing my dissertation.
Wow.
And so I just took advantage of that time off to, take my kids, around the world. And that's what we did.
Yes, ma'am, for the paid sabbatical.
Absolutely.
Did you ever worry? Now I know that you were working on your dissertation, but did you ever worry about being out of work, being away from work for that amount of time? What your career would look like if you were missing 18 months of work?
No, in academia, no, I didn't worry about that too much. Academia is easy to jump, right back into, and I was able to, after the 18 months, just jump right back into it. So.
When you were in the planning phase, had you encountered a lot of other coworkers who had done sabbaticals before you? And if so, what types of sabbaticals did they do? I had encountered employees that did other sabbaticals, but their sabbaticals really consisted of sitting at home and, doing research from home, or just kind of resting and regrouping. I felt like this was an opportunity that I wasn't going to get again, to continue to be paid and have this time off with my children. My children were homeschooled at the time, so I didn't have to worry about, their school. So I thought this was the perfect opportunity, to snatch them up and travel around the world. So I took full advantage of that.
How old were they at the time?
And so that was 2 years ago. So they were 15, 12, and I'm sorry, I have to do the math.
Do the math, Mom, do the math.
And 7 at the time.
And what did they think about the idea?
The last one was 7?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they're 17, 14, and almost 10 now. So.
Okay.
Yeah. And we had traveled before. I had won a Fulbright in 2012. And so we lived for 8 months in Kingston, Jamaica. That year, that December of 2016, we had, just decided to spend Christmas in Costa Rica. And that's kind of what started our traveling. And so when we made plans for this year of travel with the sabbatical, they were all for it and very excited. They were my co-pilot.
Great.
Did they have input into what the adventure would look like?
Absolutely. Especially in the RV trip. So with the RV trip, we really didn't have a plan. So I was also divorced in 2016. And part of my, I always wanted an RV and just wasn't able to do so when I was married. So I jumped at the opportunity when I first divorced. And so the RV sat in my driveway for a year. And we, because I was scared to drive it. I wanted it so bad, but I was scared to drive it. And so the end of 2016, after we came back from Costa Rica, we decided, traveling is definitely it. It's what we want to do. And the kids and I, we didn't really have a plan. We just knew we wanted to go west. And so we kind of just got the Google map and kind of plotted, some random points west. And then we just figured we were going to take everything else, play it by ear. And that's what we did. My kids would look up stops that they wanted to make. Like my daughter wanted to see the Four Corners, where the 4 states connect in Utah. And so that was one of our trips. My son wanted to see the Redwood in California. So we detoured and took a trip up to see the Redwoods. So they really had a lot of input. They planned just as much as I did, just however we felt at the moment and based on where we were. Because we were in the RV for about 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, my route consisted of where I knew people. Like I knew people, in Louisiana and Alabama. So that's why we started, that down trek. And so we visited friends and family along the way. And then just where landmarks that my kids wanted to see is where we ended up.
That's great. Did you find a big experience between homeschooling at home and homeschooling in the RV or during the rest of your sabbatical?
Absolutely. So our homeschooling at home was more traditional, books and paper and worksheets and things like that. On the road, it was more lax. It was our year of road schooling. And so most of our learning came from our experience where we were, so we learned obviously geography, and we learned about the states, and we would study the places we were at and but we were also able to connect it with the physical actual activity in that location. And so we didn't do a lot of, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s during that time, but we focused largely on the experience, the location, the geography of it all.
There's like a whole world schooling community, a road schooling community that is kind of like, because homeschooling, like you said, follows a much more strict curriculum. Sometimes it follows the school's district's curriculum or the state curriculum or whatever. And world schooling is a lot freer.
Absolutely.
And you get to it's just a lot freer. Are you still world schooling them?
No, they are, they're high school age now. And so they wanted to do, high school in the public school. So they actually attend public school now.
Do they? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that?
I'm torn. I mean, I'm a homeschooler at heart. Homeschooling is how we started. They hadn't been to school up until that point. So all we knew was homeschooling, but I'm in a new career now. And so I kind of I'm relieved a little bit just from the pressures of having to be a teacher / mom, and I can just be mom while I, focus on this new career.
You went on your sabbatical, you came back, and you were at the same university you left from?
I was.
And then since then you've left for a new career?
Yes. Actually, I just started here recently. My career before, I was a forensic anthropologist, African diaspora archaeologist at the university.
Wow.
And so now I focus solely on field work, and I'm in death investigations now. So forensic anthropologist full time.
Okay.
Like bones? Is that dumb of me to think of bones first?
Okay.
Okay. So are you in a lab most of the day or in the field?
In the field. I work for the medical examiner's office. And so focus on death investigations.
Okay.
So that's going to put a damper on travel for the near future, do you think, or no?
Well, we have traveled a lot over these last couple of years, and we're just kind of settling down. So I'm planning for 2020 to kind of be a year of rest anyway, because we've been traveling up until recently anyway. So 2020 is going to be a year of rest. So I don't have any travel plans. Well, I have a few. I have 4 more states I have to hit, because we had a goal of visiting 40 states by the time I turn 40, and I'll turn 40 this year. And so I have 4 more states. So we'll do some mini trips like that, but that's probably going to be it. Nothing expensive.
Have you picked out the 4?
I have Montana and Wisconsin are 2, and I don't know the other 2 yet.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. I'd like to talk about actually being in an RV with 3 kids. Sheeta and I don't have kids, but it sounds to me really
Y'all really like each other, don't you?
Scary. Yeah, scary.
Yes, believe it or not, it was the most peaceful we have, like in our house. Really? Almost 4,000 square foot house, and we have space and stuff. They would battle like cats and dogs, but in the RV, it was the most peaceful. It was an epic journey. It was an amazing trip, I have to say. Like I don't know if it was just the excitement, the thrill of travel, and not knowing where we're going to be tomorrow, and just that excitement, but we had no issues. Everyone had their defined spaces, their sleeping spaces, and their personal space. And even though it was small, we still had to have our defined spaces. And I think that's what kept us, at ease.
Okay.
But it was just the excitement of it all. So yeah, the RV, for some reason, there were no issues.
And this was a traditional RV, or was it like a van conversion, or?
It was a traditional. Well, so we started off with a Class C, which just means it was a 32-foot Class C. That means it has a bumper over the driver's part. Okay. And then we broke down in New Mexico, and and so we ended up trading it in and getting a Class A, which is the van, the bus kind.
The big boy.
We switched, and so
okay.
The traditional Class A RV.
So you're in New Mexico, and I assume because you were a professor at the time that you did not know how to fix an RV. Like, how scary was that when it broke down? It
was stressful just from like the money standpoint, but it wasn't super stressful just because we had nowhere to be, we didn't have time limits or anything. So it was just now what kind of thing. And so we were able to get it to the dealer, and at the dealer, that we were lucky, they had a RV that was for sale, and so they accepted the trade-in at full value. So we didn't, lose any money, and I didn't lose any stress as far as them trying to fix it. And it did take a week, to get everything processed, but we just explored New Mexico. We were in Albuquerque, so we just explored Albuquerque, for that week. And then we got our new RV and kept on pushing.
Have you always been a kind of like roll with the punches kind of person, or was that a new experience?
I've been a roll with the punches kind of person, but this experience really, really exacerbated that. Traveling, especially with 3 kids, you just kind of have to be able to roll with the punches, because there's so many things, breakdowns, kids getting sick on the road, just still dealing with family issues back home. Life doesn't stop just because you're on the road. So still dealing with, things like that, finances. So you kind of have to be a roll with the punches, or you can be stressed out very easily.
Mm-hmm. You turn your vacation into a non-vacation.
Yeah. Yeah.
You mentioned finances. How did you prepare for the sabbatical? You said you were getting paid during the sabbatical, so you didn't have to save any money for it, right? It's your regular.
Kind of, we did, just because, so the RV was paid for, so I didn't have to worry about that. And then I owned the house, and so I just hired a house sitter. And so there wasn't any, financial exchanges with that. So it wasn't just, it was just the day to day. I had a plan for our food and gas, and, so these were extra expenses that were coming out of household money. So it did require some planning, and we were very frugal on we used our kitchen in the RV religiously. We bought groceries and ate in, more times than not, I'll say. Once we did decide where we wanted to go next, it was about planning and figuring out how much gas it would take to get there. So it did have to be a bit frugal or conscientious of money, I'll say.
So how did your monthly expenses compare when you were in the RV versus when you were in Europe?
That's a good question. Europe was way more expensive.
Yeah.
And because maybe because it was like a once in a lifetime opportunity, it felt like at the time. And so I'm sure we splurged way more. Like my kids, they had a goal of eating at all the McDonald's in Europe, just because they were all so different. Okay. And for example, we went to a McDonald's in Switzerland, and it, for a regular 4 people, regular McDonald's meal cost $70 US. Girl,
no.
Yes. So things like that. So Europe was a bit more expensive, but it was also a shorter time too. We were only in Europe for, I guess total, it was about a month versus 3 months on the road.
Yeah.
And then here in the RV, we were also able to, to counter our expenses by doing free activities. Like we got a membership to the national parks, so we could go to all the national parks for free, and things like that. So we were able to kind of counter those expenses stateside.
That's cool. Do you have sort of a ballpark number for what you spent during your time away?
In Europe or in the RV?
Both, either whatever.
For Europe, I know, because we went to Scotland and Iceland and Scotland, and so but the places we chose were based on like cheap flights. So we didn't. I want to say I didn't spend more than $4,000 or $5,000 total
for a month.
Yeah.
For the 4 of you.
For the 4 of you.
Because
that's amazing.
We didn't stay in luxury hotels. We stayed in, we rented homes, like we went to Lake Como, Italy, and we rented an apartment for, for a week instead of, doing the hotel and luxury thing. And which was also better for us, maybe because I'm an anthropologist, but we were immersed in communities, and we really, really, really enjoyed that, so we saved money, and we kind of got a different experience. It wasn't a vacation type experience. It was a community. We for that week, we felt like we lived there. We got to know the grocers down the street and things like that. The women that ran the market. So
were you using Airbnb to find homes, or how did you find them?
I Airbnb, just internet sources, other travel friends that are able to recommend, places. So yeah, just I stayed on Google, just hunting for deals, and then of course safety and security and stuff. That all that was played a big part as well. So making sure the areas were safe. So a lot of recommendations from friends and travel buddies came into play.
That's great. Can you speak to your RV budget?
So the RV budget was easier to stick to, closer to a home budget, because again, the biggest thing I had to account for was gas for the RV, but because everything else, like our grocery budget, remained the same because I was able to grocery shop and cook in the RV. Again, our activities, we focused on free activities, and we focused on visiting family and friends all across the country, and so our expenses with the RV was when we did stay in RV parks, paying for that, and paying for like our extracurricular activities. And so that wasn't much more than what I had budgeted for our regular life, if that makes sense. So we cut out, the Y membership at home for those 3 months and spent that money doing activities out across the country, if that makes sense. So RVing, it did not bust the budget at all. It was actually very affordable, but it does require a lot of planning and sacrifice. I'm sure there was many restaurants and stuff that both my kids and I would have loved to indulge in instead of eating, spaghetti in the RV that night kind of thing. But those are the kind of sacrifices that we made to be able to travel the country for 3 months.
That's the thing that everybody we're talking to has talked about how, people think that this kind of life is so great and that it doesn't require any sacrifices. And they think that because you're doing it, you have something that they don't have. When we're the same people that they are, we've just made a change in priorities and
Absolutely.
Sacrifice something so that we can do this thing that we really want to do.
Absolutely. That's the secret.
I really like hearing that your kids were in on the sacrifice, and it wasn't, mom telling them, we're eating spaghetti tonight. It was, all of you guys in it together to allow them to go where they wanted to go. That's really great to hear.
Yes. I was saying they were heavily involved in making those kind of decisions. Even at home, they would, for example, I had a grocery budget, and then I gave them X amount of dollars to contribute to, whatever they wanted to get at the grocery store to help meal plan for the week. And we just continued that same thing on the road wherever we were, So they were heavily involved in it and understood.
It's really good that your kids were involved, and it's really good that you saw the benefit to your kids, because a lot of times we talk to parents, they think that uprooting their child is depriving them, and it seems like you were able to really bless your kids with a really great experience by uprooting them from the life they knew, but showing them the life out there, which can be even better sometimes.
Absolutely. And I don't even look at it as uprooting them. I just feel it was an experience that I offered to them, and even now I feel like they're reaping the benefits of it. My daughter, she wants to go to college in London, for example, which before she wouldn't have known, or you know what I mean. She wouldn't have maybe considered had we not gone there. She enjoyed London. She loved the visit while we were there, and it became a part of her reality. Same with my son. Now he wants to be a business owner, and now he wants an international office, and he wants a local office. And again, I feel like those are ideologies that they might not have had they not been able to experience the world, if that makes sense, outside of a textbook. So no, I don't even look at it as uprooting. It's just an experience that was offered to them, and hopefully they benefited from it. I know I certainly benefited from it, because this as much as I love to travel, I was raised in a single mother household, and she worked 2 jobs to keep me and my sister afloat, and so traveling just was not an option. I didn't know anything about the outside world until I decided I wanted to give that to my children. So this was an experience for me as well. I benefited greatly from it just as much as they did, I feel. So it was an experience. I like experience and not uprooting.
And it also changes your relationship with them. As a grown-up, I've lived with my parents, and I know them as people, whereas until I was probably 40 years old, I didn't think, I didn't know them, and they didn't really know me. you from a very early age get to actually know your kids, and you know, they actually know you as a person because they've experienced this amazing adventure with you.
Absolutely. And they're planning to bring me along as when I'm an old woman. You know, they have plans to, they're traveling with their wives and husbands and children to, you know, I'll have an RV in the back of theirs, or so they're planning for me to continue these adventures with them into adulthood. So I'm very grateful for that.
That's a great gift to give them.
Can we talk a little bit about RVing while Black? RVing, I have a dream to RV to do what you did, to RV to national parks. I want to see Zion National Park and Yellowstone and Yosemite. And what's it like being like the only Black family in a campground and being in those national parks where Black people have sometimes not felt safe?
It was, I never felt unsafe. I felt highly disappointed. That's the word I'll use. Disappointed that we were oftentimes the only Black family. And it wasn't because we never felt unwelcome. We never felt, you know, threatened in any kind of way. It just, I think there's a misconception in the Black community about camping and RVing and the outdoors and that kind of life. Every campground we went to, we were welcomed with open arms. But there are stories where that's not the case. We were fortunate. In our experience, we were welcomed with open arms and never had any issues. The only time I really felt unsafe was like at truck stops, being a single mother with kids, because we did do a lot of truck stop overnight sleeps as well. But as far as the campgrounds and things, I was just disappointed that there weren't more of us. I remember writing several articles while I was on the road, talking about that, like, where are we all at? You know, come out. It's a great place to be. You know, come. Get out more, you know, Black people. So it was more of disappointment that more of us weren't taking advantage of the opportunity, you know, of these experiences, but not an unwelcome feeling.
Christina, that's why we were so excited to talk to you. As soon as I saw the word RV and so we both belong to No Madness Travel Tribe, and I just did a search for the word sabbatical. And you said you were taking a sabbatical and you were going to RV with your kids. I said, we got to talk to her because it's my dream. I don't know. Now I don't know that I know anyone who is RV long distance. I do have a couple of cousins who have RVs and like RV to the beach because we live in Delaware. But I don't know any Black people who have just taken off in their RV like this. And so the more with that, more, you know, you talk about it and tell people about it, the safer people will feel doing it. I think that's probably the aspect of safety, and then the unknown quantity, like the unknown idea of how much is it going to cost, and nobody ever tells you how much things like this cost. And so that's why we're talking to you, because we want to share, we want to spread the word.
Yes, absolutely. If I could share, you know, the biggest thing to learn is just how to maintain and operate an RV. You know, that I think that might be a hindrance for some, because RVing is foreign. It was foreign to me. And it was a lot of trial and error and a lot of, you know, figuring things out. But financially and then feeling safe as a brown person, you know, traveling this country along with her kids, a brown female at that, traveling the country with her kids, you know, none of that never became an issue. My biggest obstacles was just figuring out how to do this thing. So it was just to jump in and do it and get it done. And but again, I was fortunate that I had the time, and so I didn't have the stress of we only have a week to do this, and so we have to see this, and that short, you know. So, because for example, if our RV would have broke down and we had this 2-week time crunch, you know, it would have been a very stressful experience and a very different experience for us. So being able to just take the time to figure out how to RV, and because I feel like once you do it, you'll love it. You'll love it. The kids and I, we did another RV trip, but this time we went north this time. It was another 3 months, and we went to Canada. And one of the experiences that my kids still talk about today, we met in, what were they? They were a Brazilian family. We met a Brazilian family in Canada. And the guy was fishing on the lake that we were camping out at, and they invited us to dinner, and it was the best meal. And just the camaraderie, we took food over there, and their kids played with my kids, and I talked to, you know, and they were in their RVs, and my kids still talk about that seems small and minor, but that experience, you know, right, it makes it worth it, and it makes it worth the shot, you know, just give it a shot, just try it. a weekend, start small, a weekend, a week, but camping and RVing and the outdoors is amazing. We live in a beautiful country, and hopefully more people of color can experience it.
You had your kids with you and you stopped and you saw some friends along the way, but were there times where you were like, I just want to meet another adult? Or was it all, mellow?
No, it was a lot. There was a lot of adults along the way in the campgrounds and things. So we met people of all walks of life. There were times on the road, like, man, I wish somebody could help me drive, or things like that, or just that it would have been nice to talk to an adult in my own personal space. Yeah, that would have been nice. But again, I had just recently divorced, so I kind of was enjoying that alone time as well, honestly. So no, I can't think of a time where I missed adult companionship too much, just needing help driving. I still had access to my family and friends via FaceTime and the phone and the internet. So no, we were good. We were good.
Did you do any dating at all during your sabbatical?
None.
We have to ask, because women always ask. We have to ask.
No, that was a year of just figuring myself out.
Mm-hmm. Was it easier to meet people, like just new other families while you were traveling in the RV as opposed to traveling just out, like when you went to Europe?
Absolutely. And mostly just because of cultural barriers. That was the biggest challenge overseas. Like when we went to Costa Rica, I didn't realize I had booked us, and it was a local vacation spot. So we were the only English speaking people except for one waiter in the whole resort. Mm-hmm. And so things like that. So we didn't talk to a lot of people because my Spanish is okay. We survived. I was able to get us food into the bathroom, but I wasn't able to make friends. Yeah. And same with when we traveled to Italy, for example, we stayed in a community. So these people lived here. There were chickens running, these people, this was their home, and they already had their neighbors and friends, and they weren't very interested in getting to meet, some strangers that's only going to be there for a week, I don't think. And again, the language barrier, was an issue. Honestly, I feel our stay in Europe was probably more lonely as far as adult companionship than the United States in our RV trip.
How welcoming was Italy to you guys? Lake Como is north, is that right? Like kind of near Milan? How welcoming were they to you guys?
Towards the end of the week, we felt very welcome. It did take a little bit of, we were the only brown people again in the area, and so we got a lot of looks, a lot of stares. But towards the end, and we made an effort in the community. We made an effort to learn the language. We made an effort to go into, back to the market and ask for help, and what is this and how do you say this, and so people were willing to help. And once they saw our eagerness to kind of be involved in their community and not just visitors and tourists, I think that helped tremendously. So initially it was a bit stressful, just not being able to speak the language, not knowing how we were felt about. But again, by the end, since we took the effort to immerse ourselves, I think that helped tremendously.
And you did document this time on your blog. Do you want to? Can we talk a little bit about your blog?
Sure.
Nomadic Mama of 3. You made that blog during your sabbatical period, right? So you blogged a little bit as you went about that journey.
Absolutely, yeah. And that was tremendous. Writing is an outlet for me anyway. And so being able to document with pictures and our stories, and it was just a way to keep my family at bay. My family, I'm the wild child in the family. So I'm the one that's up and, so my dad would call me like, where are you at in the world today? Where are you? So the blog was just a way to kind of let my family know, we're here. This is what we're doing. This is what we're experiencing. We're safe and we're sound. And then just to look back on, that my kids are older and look back on and read some of their memories, because they have blog posts in there and pictures that they took and part of their experiences documented in there. So being able to just kind of have that as a keepsake.
If anybody wants to check it out, it's Nomadic Mama of 3, and I'll put the link in the description. So while during this sabbatical, you were schooling the kids and driving, you were a driver and blogging. Did you get your dissertation done or?
Not then, but
Okay.
I have since then. I have since then. Yeah, the honestly, that experience just kind of shook up my whole world. It just even made me question, I went through a short phase of, do I even want to go in this direction? Like I had such an amazing time, and, I want to be a part of the world, and, do I even want to pursue this career avenue? And so I kind of, so we were on the road for a year, and then those last 8 months or so, I got some writing done, but I stalled a little bit. So it took another year and a half for me to finish that. So.
When you have free time, right, you do have a chance to say, wait, am I on the path that I wanted to be on? It happens, everybody, a lot of people come back from their sabbatical and like just change everything.
Or we never come back.
Or don't come back.
Yeah. And I ended up changing careers because of it. I mean, I finished the dissertation, but I made me realize I wanted to be less in academia and more in the field. And so that's how the career change happened. So the sabbatical was tremendous in many ways, just kind of eye-opening and self-aware.
You were on the road for a year. Can you tell us the path you took, what countries you went to in what order?
Okay, let me try to remember. So we did, so we were on the first so we on the RV trip twice. So the first RV we left in February. Okay. Pretty sure it was February, the end of February, and we were gone for 3 months. So we came back towards the summer, and then that summer we did Europe. So we started with Iceland and Scotland, and then we did London, Sweden, Switzerland, Italy, and then I'm forgetting, and one more country after Italy, and then we were actually invited to go to the Middle East, to Kosovo, or Transylvania. I don't know why I said Kosovo, to Transylvania. It was going to be part of a work project / vacation, but we were so exhausted by the time, that 10th country came around. We did 9 countries. We were exhausted. And so we skipped that last one and just came on back. We rested for a few more months. And then for about a month, we were home and kind of regrouping. And then we got back on the road in the RV and headed west again.
Do you still have the RV?
No. I sold it. There was no space, and we made a vow to kind of settle down. I hate that though. I now that I am officially settled, I miss it so much. But at the time, just trying to settle, and we were just exhausted. So all traveling just was not. We just feel like we just need a moment, and so we just went ahead and sold it. But I hate that we did that. Yeah. We're gonna get another RV is in the works, though. I will say that.
For someone who doesn't want to commit to an RV, I'm sure I could Google this, but since we have you now, I'll ask you. You can tell everyone. Is renting an RV cost prohibitive, or is it does it usually make more sense to buy if you're going to use it for a certain amount of time? Like if you want to go for 3 months.
Okay. If you want to go for months, it's probably cheaper to buy a used RV, because I think it's around $1,000 a week to rent, at least back, when I checked. And that's a great investment for a vacation. I mean, that's what you spend at, vacationing and hotel fees and things like that. So to take a week or two to, cross the country in an RV, it's worth it to rent it. If that's, if you just want to try it. And even just a weekend, it's way cheaper. You can rent a couple $100. It's a little more than renting a nice car at a car rental place. So if you just want to rent one for the weekend, I highly encourage it. Or believe it or not, in the RV community, people are willing to let you use their RVs. I let my friends take my RV out many times. So if you know someone, maybe you can just ask. Yeah, just ask. I was even willing to go set it. Like if they were going to go local, I would go set it up for them, wherever they wanted it parked, and and get things ready for them. So there's also options like that as well. You know, if you know someone or someone local, RVers are willing to share, at least in the RV world.
Before.
So, yeah.
Okay. Friends with an RV, hit Stephanie up.
Please.
I would love to RV as well. Yeah, I'd love to RV as well, but I feel like I need to like sneak into somebody else's RV.
There's a lot to
Feels like
you know. At one point I wanted to offer a class, like just the, you know, an initial RV class, because there's a lot to, you know, just from the sewer to the refrigeration to the sleeping arrangements and, you know, just managing in a small space. There's just a lot to know that could be a shock, you know, just starting out. And I wish they did offer some kind of class like that, just so I think that would take some of the fear away and some of the bad experiences, the initial bad experiences, you know, people may have away. Because I've done them all, from the sewer mishaps to, you know, to it all. So, you know, I had to learn the hard way. Fortunately, it was me and my kids. So, you know, fortunately that, not that it made it better, but it made it not as terrible.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you just learned from Google University, or?
Yeah, Google University, and just a lot of do's and don'ts, and what does this switch do, and what does this do, and what happens if I do this, and, you know.
Just start pushing buttons.
Yes.
Okay, so I bought a manual transmission car without knowing how to drive one, and the dealer was like, "Okay, girl, come back tomorrow, and I'll teach you how to drive." He was like, "Sis, what are you doing?" Older black guy was like, "I'm not gonna let you be out there being crazy." So there wasn't a moment in the RV dealership where they were like, "Let me show you what all the switches do," or do you have that moment?
I bought it used, so I bought
it
from another person. My first one, I bought it from another person.
Okay.
And I guess I couldn't even drive it home. I had a friend drive it home, and it sat in my driveway for a year. So during that year, that's when I did a lot of, you know, pushing buttons, and I actually gutted it and remodeled it and made it suitable for, you know, for my kids and I too. Yeah, like there was a dining area that we wouldn't use, so I made that a sleeping space for my youngest, and, you know, so I made it ready for us to travel in. I was just too scared to travel in it. But I did have a gentleman. I came in he was a mechanic, and I was trying to get something fixed, and he was an RV person, and he walked me through everything. Like, he took the time and just showed me how to use the gas stove and how to like pilot, and like he showed me everything, how to use the propane tanks, how to connect the sewer properly. So I'm very grateful for that experience. You know, very, very grateful for that. And that's why I say a class or just having someone that can show you initially is very useful, very beneficial.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I want to know this, but I don't really want to know this.
Okay.
And Stephanie knows where I'm going right now. The sewer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You connect it to, like, in an RV park? Is there something that you connect it to?
It is. So the sewer, I mean, so your bathroom in the RV is a traditional bathroom, toilet, sink,
Mm-hmm.
shower. But it all goes into a tank that sits up under the RV. Mm-hmm. And there's the hose that you carry with you. And so you have to connect the hose and it to your tank, and then you connect the hose to the sewage hole, you know, that you're releasing into. I learned the hard way that if it's not locked properly, that hose will snap. But the sewage does not stop flowing, and the mess can ensue. Yes. So yes.
No.
So yeah, just making sure everything is locked properly and connected properly. The hoses and everything are sturdy. The tanks never leaked, anything like that. It's just human error. Just making it, in my particular case, it just wasn't locked. And it wasn't as bad as that movie. There's a movie, the RVing movie. It wasn't that bad. You know, it didn't get all over, but it just kind of leaked outside of where it was supposed to go, which still was not pleasant.
Uh-huh.
So,
yeah.
Things moms do for us. The things our moms do.
Yeah. But it's not, I mean, it's not as bad. You know, you have latex gloves, or I had latex gloves, and, you know, that I wore, and it wasn't terrible. And once you connect it, you can walk away. You know, once you're sure that it's locked securely, you can walk away, let it do its thing, you know, go in there, run some water. And so you don't really have to, it's not that hands-on, you know what I mean?
Okay.
You know.
And are there sewer connector hole things, pits, at other places besides RV parks, or was that the only place you could do that?
No, truck stops, but you have to pay, you know, I think it's $5 or $10 to dump. But you can stop at truck stops. Because remember I was telling you we did a lot of truck stop sleepovers. Yeah. And so we would just pay the fee, you know, dump the tanks and then for the longest, and this might be edited as well, but for the longest I had a no poo in the loo rule because I just didn't want to deal with it. So it wasn't until later, into our RV journey, where I started allowing that, where I was way more comfortable with dumping the sewer. So initially there was no poo in the loo.
You will hold it until we get to McDonald's, and then you will go.
Yes, we did a lot of Walmart. Like Walmart allowed sleepover. You know, you could park the RV there and sleep overnight. So a lot of Walmart bathrooms and things like that. So yeah, until I got comfortable.
Okay, I think that'd definitely be me.
Yeah. All right. So you took a major step. First of all, you bought the RV, even though you were already afraid to drive the RV. And you took the major step of taking the sabbatical and taking your kids traveling around the world. A lot of women, as you know, have the exact same dream. They even have, you know, some idea of how they would do it. They're just afraid to take the step. What advice do you have for women who are afraid to take the leap?
It's really such a personal thing, because like I said, I dreamed of it for so long while I was married and wasn't able to accomplish it. So like I said, as soon as, you know, I was on my own, that was the first thing I bought was an RV, you know, second to my house was an RV. But then, like I said, the fear, you know, of just the safety, the like all of it combined. So it was just a matter of, I just got to do it. And so when the sabbatical opportunity came up, it was just like, I can't let this go to waste. Like I have this time, I can't waste it. So we're just going to do it. So I actually planned it. I paid money. I booked like our first campground and I put money out there. So I just kind of forced me to do it. I told the kids about it, and there's no going back once you tell the kids.
Yeah.
And so once I did that, it was just to get behind the wheel and go and see what happens. And that's what I did. So it was really just a leap of faith. So somebody just has to be ready to take that leap of faith.
I think so many women are going to be like, oh, let me add this to my 2020 agenda.
the fact that you can do it, take it, you know, even if it's just for a summertime with your kids, get in an RV and drive for a few months, and it's totally doable. I think you're really going to open some women's eyes to that. Maybe some men, who knows?
I absolutely hope so. We'll get more people of color and more females of color out there into the outdoors. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with us today. Stephanie and I both provide resources to help you get out of the planning stage and into the execution stage. I have a checklist called the Complete Gap Year Planning Checklist, and I'll take you through the steps that you need to take to plan a sabbatical. You can find that in the description below.
And I have a list of 50 cities where you can Airbnb for $500 a month. Christina talked about how they stayed in homes for entire weeks or longer by renting them instead of staying in hotels, saved a lot of money on her family travel budget. So get your list of 50 cities. The link is in the description. All right, Christina, amazing. Thank you so much for sharing with us exactly how you took a trip with your family and how it benefited you guys. Amazing, amazing. Let everybody know, please, where they can follow you on your future journeys.
Instagram, it's me, Christina B. They can find us there. Again, we don't have much planned for this year, but we do have a few trips planned, so they can find us there.
RVers are willing to share. Okay. Friends with an RV, hit Stephanie up. Please, please, please.